Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our next event in our webinar series. We are excited to introduce Enfin Loans to all of you. This is a product that we launched over the weekend. So let's jump right into it. Let's get into the agenda and talk about Enfin Loans. So today we're going to talk about the requirements and product offerings from Enfin and their loan portal. Then we'll talk about how to set up your Enfin portal. Then we'll move on to designing and pricing in Aurora, the credit application process, pre-qualifying customers, best practices, and then go over the different avenues for submitting your projects. Now, if you've attended any of these webinars in the past, you know that we always wrap up with a Q&A session. So we've got some key stakeholders from Freedom Forever here with us to answer all of your questions, and we will get to that at the end of the presentation. About halfway through, you will see a pop-up appear for you to start submitting questions for the Q&A. And once we wrap up this portion of the presentation, we will dive right into those questions. So let's get started. First, we're going to start with the Enfin loan requirements and product offerings. They have a minimum FICO score of 650. They do offer loans between $10,000 and $125,000. They have a loan term of between 10 and 30 years. The 30-year product requires Q-cell panels. With an Enfin loan, either the borrower or the co-borrower must be on title. DTI is not considered as part of the credit decision. The validity of the credit application is 180 days after signing the contract. And for Enfin loans, they do offer Spanish contracts in all the states that they are open. So what are some of the allowed property types for Enfin loans? Primary residences, second homes, 2 to 4 unit residential properties if the borrower owns the roof or the HOA approves the installation. And then properties permanently affixed to the ground. Standard residential rooftops for like mobile homes, right? What's not allowed are investment properties, multi-units above 5 or more units, properties located on Indian reservations, or properties owned by businesses or LLCs, corporations, or trusts. Like our previous loan options, this is a loan that re-amortizes at month 18. So the borrower has that window of time of 18 months to claim the tax credit. The month 18 loan target of the 30% buy down will maintain that product at that same monthly payment. If they pay beyond 30%, then the payment would calculate lower. If they pay less than 30%, it would calculate above. Some other things to know: there is no prepayment penalties for paying off the loan early. There is a UCC1 placed on the equipment, not the home. And we'll talk about this pretty extensively, but you can pre-qualify the homeowner before running the credit app. It is a soft credit pull for pre-qualification, but that converts to a hard credit pull after the first milestone payment. So let's talk about setting up your Enfin portal. Now, if you already have an account with Enfin, you've been using their TPO products, you're able to log in and there will be a new bar at the top. You can see it highlighted on screen that says loan. Log in at partner.enfin.com. You can use your login credentials that you previously had. If it's your first time using Enfin, then you'll have credentials emailed to you, so look for that email. Once you log in and click the loan button, it's going to prompt you to take the loan training. So it's about a course that's less than 30 minutes. So make sure you complete that loan preparation course. Once it's complete and you verify that you've viewed all of the content, then it will open you up to the dashboard, which is the screenshot that you can see here. Now, from this Enfin dashboard, again, you can click pre-qualification for new pre-qualification for the customer. You can start a new credit application. You can view the rate card. You can see the payment calculator, look at any pending tasks you have with your projects, and see an overall projects dashboard. And then you'll see they have a contact us, resources, and help center as well. So you can swap back and forth between the loan portal and the TPO portal from this screen. Now, the payment calculator will generate loan options and demonstrate price. Make sure the rate and payment match from your Aurora proposal, or at least are relatively close. You'll see maybe pennies difference between the two portals. If you are going to do the 30-year product, you will have to use the loan calculator here to demonstrate it. not all of the current rates, even though they are available here on the rate card, not all rates are available in Aurora. While we work on getting that integrated, there are some custom rates, and we'll demonstrate that when we get into the Aurora platform. Now, to pre-qualify customers, you can get them pre-qualified. Again, with Enfin, it is incredibly important that you put all of the information in correctly. The name as it appears on title, mobile number, email address, primary address. Do due diligence on making sure that all of the information is correct. Now, one of the best things about this pre-qualification process is if you do get them pre-qualified, they pass the pre-qualification, then when you do convert that over to a loan application later, it will copy all of that information from the pre-qualification directly into the loan application. Now, to manage your applications, you would click on the dashboard and then choose projects. That will give you a list of all of your current projects. You can generate a new application, run credit, send loan docs, look at your reminders, and then sort by your application statuses. Now, let's jump over to Aurora and demonstrate what it looks like from the Aurora platform to design. Again, not too many differences, but we will focus and have a heavy emphasis on how you pull the loan rates for financing. So let's jump over there now. Okay, we have jumped over to Aurora, and we're going to demonstrate the best practices for designing an Enfin loan. We've designed this project with the QCell 410s. I've got my system completely finalized, so I'll click Done. Now, to price this project with this Enfin product, you're going to click the net price per watt and set your PPW on the upper left-hand side. And either from this screen or the financing screen here, under the selected financing product, make sure that you choose Aurora Custom Financing. Aurora Custom Financing has the Enfin loan rates and the duration of the loan built in. So you can see, again, like not all of the loan products are here. If you did want a 30-year, you can use the Enfin loan calculator in their portal. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the Enfin 25-year 3.99. Now, like we said earlier in the presentation, the reamortization of this loan takes place at month 18. So it's not accurate here. So just make sure you set that expectation with the homeowner if you're demonstrating on this screen the monthly payment, that it reamortizes at month 18, not 16, like it says in Aurora. So you'll see here's your APR, your duration, your financed amount, and net cost after your renewable energy tax credit. So now that I've demonstrated this, I've chosen my loan rate. Now I need to go back over to the Enfin portal and run the credit application. So I'm logging into the Enfin portal now. If I had pre-qualified that customer, I would have a pre-qualification already ready to go. But in this case, I'm going to click New Credit Application. And you can either choose to do this in person or to email the credit application. So we would then populate all of their pertinent information: first name, last name, phone number, email address, primary address. Choose the property type, installation address, and state. Here's where you would add a co-applicant. And then make sure for the PV equipment, you check the box for Q cells. Choose the loan amount. And we are doing solar system only. System size was 9.84. And our loan term was 25 years at 3.99%. So now we move down to the applicant's first name, last name, date of birth, social, and the annual income. Check remaining boxes and submit that for credit. Now, once the homeowner has passed credit, again, there could be stipulations. The types of stipulations are ID stipulations, income stipulations, or title stipulations. For ID stipulations, those must be resolved prior to the homeowner signing the contract. The title and income verification can be resolved after contract. Now, after they've been approved for the loan, now we need to convert this project over to Lightspeed. So there's two ways to do it. We'll return to Lightspeed and choose the Exit to CRM button. Now, for the time being, while we get this sorted and properly installed into Aurora, when you convert a loan product, it's going to assume it's a Mosaic project. So what we're going to do is wait for the Mosaic screen to pop up where it's looking for that Mosaic loan number and skip past that. So this is going to work as the same workflow as if you were converting the previous loan option. So we'll click skip and then confirm our proposal details. And then we will go confirm details, choose whatever Safe Streets packages you've chosen, and then fill out the remaining basic information for project generation. Now, the key here is when you get to the notes screen, you're going to type in Enfin loan. So you let us know that this is an Enfin loan product that you're converting over. Then click next, and you'll generate all of the remaining documents for DocuSign, upload the utility bill or any other supporting documentation to the project generator, and convert that project over to Lightspeed. So this is the route you would take if, after you've completed the loan application in Enfin's portal, you want to use the PG Lite. Now, the other option, if you want to use the manual project generator to convert this project over to Lightspeed, you would click Generate Project, and then you'll see here that there is an Enfin loan option that you can choose from the list to convert this project over to Lightspeed. Now, keep in mind, if you go this route, you will have to enter the information exactly how it appeared on the proposal. So again, with Enfin's requirements and our requirements being so strict on making sure the information is correct, if you're going to use the manual project generator, make sure that you have all of your data properly entered the second time you put it in through manual project generation. All right, we have reached our Q&A session. So again, about halfway through this presentation, you should have seen the Q&A pop up. If you have questions about this process or anything else we could answer for you, we have a whole panel here to answer those questions for you. So let's jump into that Q&A now.
All right, now is the time for you to answer and shoot some questions over to the Q&A session. We've got a few questions here that we're going to bring onto the screen momentarily. We've got Rob Angel and Brian Malott with us. So our first question, and this is going to be for Rob, and that is, when will the 30-year loan be available as an option to choose in Aurora? And what's the best way to work that option while it's not there?
Yeah, morning, everybody. The issue, just to describe what's going on with this one, the issue is that for the TPO products, the project life in Aurora needs to be set at 25 years. Otherwise, you won't be able to quote and sell TPO jobs. However, for the 30-year, it needs to be a 30-year project life. And so you have issues with one or the other depending on how you set it in Aurora. I think right now we just need to keep it at 25 years for the purpose of TPOs. So we're working with Aurora to see if there's anything we can do to kind of get around that. It is something that can be manually adjusted on the project level, but I just don't have a lot of faith that we're going to execute on that properly. So trying to get a better answer from Aurora on if there's anything we can do to solve for this. In the meantime, what you can do is just go into Enfin and type in just the project amount there, and it's going to give you the payment estimate. That would be my recommendation. You may need to calculate the dealer fee, so you know what the total loan amount should be and preserve your net PPW. But that would be my recommendation. Take the loan amount, pop it into Enfin's portal, get the payment, and that's what you talk about with the homeowner.
Okay, one of the questions that we're seeing a lot in the Q&A right now is state availability. So you guys want to go over which states this is? It's probably easier to say which ones it's not available in.
Yeah, the only ones it's not available in kind of officially is Minnesota and Puerto Rico. There are some states that we're aware of right now are having issues with Enfin. When you try to apply, you're getting an error message that says something to the effect of freedom is not active in this state. That's come up in probably 4 or 5 states so far. We're working with Enfin. Not sure why that's coming up. That's kind of just a glitch on Enfin's side, but we are hoping to have that resolved at some point today. Those states that we're aware of, at least at this point, are Massachusetts, Florida, Nevada, and Texas, I think. So it is a known issue. We're working on it. Should have some updates shortly.
Okay, I'm sure you guys were prepared for this, but can we discuss how this would work for swapping Mosaic over to Enfin? And one of the specific questions we got about that is, what if the Mosaic was sold with the JA panels? Are they required to use the Q cells?
Yep. Figured this would be a topic this morning, so I'm glad you asked. All right, so the direction at this point from a swap perspective is we do not want anybody swapping post-install Mosaic jobs. That may change. There's more information coming. As you guys know, Mosaic did file for Chapter 11 on Friday. Maybe you don't know. I don't know, but it was in the news. Mosaic did file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on Friday. And that has implications, and there's conversations and things happening with Mosaic. I'm not going to get too into them now because we don't know where it's going to land. It may change, and it's fluid. So we're asking that you hold on post-install jobs at this point in time. Anything pre-install is okay to swap. There is a list that we have sent to each of the dealers, which represent jobs that Mosaic is going to cancel this week. Essentially, any job that they haven't made a payment to Freedom, they are going to cancel this week. They also are not accepting any new sales and originations. So if it's not already, it will be Mosaic as a whole for the foreseeable future will be turned off as a new option very, very soon, both in Aurora and Mosaic and Lightspeed. So we're working on that. So in terms of the swaps, anything pre-install is okay, especially jobs that Mosaic is canceling the financing for. We will be opening tickets on all of those jobs. But I think the two priorities are going to be jobs that are like very close to install or ready to install. Get those swapped ASAP. And then any job that Mosaic is canceling, definitely get those swapped ASAP as well. If it has something other than Q cells, that is absolutely fine. You don't need to switch and do a design change or do a redesign. In fact, you shouldn't do a redesign. All of these financing swaps, the only thing you need to do, for the most part, is go into Enfin, apply, sign loan docs. When you're filling out the system details, you should just work off the currently active scope of work. You should not need a Freedom change order. Okay, so do not redesign it in Aurora. Do not submit another job into Lightspeed. You don't need to do any of that. Just go get the new Enfin loan doc signed with the existing scope of work, the existing contract price. If you need to give the homeowner a rebate or whatever for the trouble, you absolutely can do that, but you shouldn't need to sign a new Freedom contract or a new Freedom change order. Just get the new loan doc signed, open up a ticket in Lightspeed to Freedom's team that says, hey, I changed financing, or you can schedule a live scope of work call. We'll get the scope of work updated, and then you'll be good to go. For any jobs that are swapped, we are giving a 15-cent baseline reduction. So whatever the baseline was at the time of the original sale, you will get 15 cents off of that. So a little extra motivation beyond wanting to get the job installed already to make up for kind of the troubles here. So that'll give you and by the way, the Enfin dealer fees are substantially lower than Mosaic's anyway. So you're going to, there's a lot of money on the table to get these swaps done. All right. So I know there's going to be some questions on, some other kind of ins and outs there. Happy to take those as we go. But that's basically what we're looking at right now. I think specifically with credit fails, I'm sure you're going to have some questions there. We're going to give better direction as we go. I don't have a ton of direction on that scenario right now. But if you get it approved and signed, again, just go ahead and get that all wrapped up and submit a ticket to Freedom.
Rob, I know you touched on this briefly before, but we still are getting a lot of questions about how to properly calculate the 30-year loan inside of their portal. Is there like some guidance we can give for how to properly price that with the dealer fee included? And for those of you who are asking where the dealer fees are located, when you are in the Enfin portal, there is a rate card tab once you're logged in on the loan side, so you'll be able to see the rate card. But Rob, back to that original question, what's the best way to calculate that to make sure you're doing the loan correctly?
Yeah, so I mean, again, understand it's not ideal. We're doing everything we can to get it in Aurora, so you don't have to. So you don't have to worry about this, and I don't have to answer this question. But the math is pretty simple. On I'll say this a couple times just so if you need to write it down. But what I would recommend is price this as a 0% dealer fee option, right? So price it with, whatever the 1109, I think it's like a 1099 25 year, 1109 20 year. So I would say price it with a 0% dealer fee option. Then look and add all your adders as you normally would. And then take the loan amount that it shows in Aurora and divide that by 1 minus the dealer fee. All right, so I know math is hard, so I'll go through this slowly, but let's just say it's, $30,000 is the loan amount in Aurora, and the dealer fee is whatever, 30%. You're going to take 30,000 and divide it by 0.7 or 70%. That will give you the loan amount that you need to charge to net that amount that's in Aurora. Okay, so once again, price your job, insert the net PPW that you want in Aurora, add all of your adders, price it with a 0% loan. And the reason I say a 0% loan and not cash is because if you're pricing it with specifically Paykeeper, there is going to show up, you're going to get the Paykeeper, dealer fee or fee in there, whatever. So I would recommend doing a 0% fee loan rather than cash or Paykeeper. But price it with that, divide it by 1 minus the dealer fee. So the dealer fee is 30%, that would be dividing it by 0.7%. The dealer fee is 35%, that would be dividing it by 0.65. Right? So, Mark, does that answer? You think that's a good answer?
I think that's a great answer. All right. So our next question is, we briefly touched on this, right? Is why does it say 16 months for the amortization inside of Aurora versus what's in the Enfin portal? I think I could take this one, Rob. It's trying to get the calculations correctly as we get these rates added into Aurora. The rate that you need to choose and the monthly price that is the go-to is what is in the Enfin portal. So you can quote this and do your best inside of Aurora while you're building your project, but completing that process and using the calculators inside of Enfin, that will give you your most accurate monthly price. Is that correct, Rob?
That absolutely is correct. I don't want to say ballparking it, but we're getting close in Aurora, but Enfin is certainly the source of truth. A couple of things I'll add here is that the Enfin loan product is not fully integrated into Aurora yet. We do expect that to be within the next couple to several weeks, in which case all of this kind of goes away. You're going to be able to run credit and sign loan docs in Aurora the way that you normally would with Mosaic. But until then, yes, we're basically like setting these up as custom financing options, which means that the payment's not going to be exact. And so we've set this up to match the payment as closely as we get. And that means some of these other items are slightly out of whack. So just as you're talking to customers, quote it in Enfin, make sure the payments, quote the payment in Enfin, and then give them the real months on, okay, it's this long after PTO is your first payment, and then the ream happens this long after your first payment.
Okay, a lot of questions in the Q&A about how to receive logins if they've never been Enfin before. What's the best route of getting them their logins if they need to get set up into the Enfin portal?
So pretty much everybody at this point that has been onboarded or has done anything, sold a job in the last 60 days, has an Enfin login already. There's a pretty good chance that if you haven't been selling in, an Enfin state, an Enfin TPO state, you may not know that you have it when in fact you do. So I would recommend first step should be go to Enfin's portal and try using the forgot password and seeing if you have an account. If you have done that and you don't get an email or it says we can't find this account, at that point, first of all, we are bulk onboarding all of our active users. I'm hoping today that should be done. So if you can wait until that's done, I would say wait. But if you can't, you need a job, you need access, you can go through our dealer admin team or sales concierge. So you can just chat in or call in sales concierge. They can interact with our dealer admin team. We'll get those accounts set up manually. But again, they should be all probably by tomorrow. Everybody that is an active user in our system should have an Enfin account.
Next question is, are we required to use the Q cells for all NFIN loans or just the 30-year option?
Q cells is the base module for all new NFIN sales, as we mentioned earlier. So if you're swapping, the only time you need to use Q cells is if you're doing the 30-year loan. In that case, you do need to do a redesign and swap over to the 30 to the Q cells, but otherwise, Q cells should be only for new sales, or if it already has Q cells on it and you're swapping, or if you're trying to sell the 30-year loan.
Next question is from Adam. For the loan, it was mentioned that the borrower or co-borrower needs to be on the title. Does that mean only one needs to be on the title or both? That is correct. That is NFIN's guidelines that either the borrower or the co-borrower needs to be on title, one of the two. So we've gotten that question a lot, so there's a lot of duplicates. We will archive the rest of those.
Mark, I'll chime in and add to that. One of the other things that NFIN has, if you are using a co-applicant, a co-signer, both applicants must complete a welcome call. So not just one. If there's two signers, then both will need to complete a welcome call.
All right, next question is from Dallas. Is Girls Just Want to Have Fun your favorite Cyndi Lauper song? No, I like the one from the Goonies. So we also have a question from Abdullah. Is income verification required? Can we talk about some of the stipulations, guys, and when those stipulations pop up? Not every project will have them, but some will, like ID. And I think we mentioned in the webinar itself when the signing flow works, like, you know, the ID ones take place before contract signature and the others are after signature. Someone want to elaborate on that?
I don't have much to say on that personally, Brian. Not sure if you do, but yeah, I mean, steps are going to come up. Got to clear them quick as you can. Those will block generally kind of moving along to the next step. So got to get those cleared. They should be pretty minimal, but yeah, you will see them come up, and as they do, got to get them cleared. And if, you know, it becomes something that you see more often than expected, or you're seeing things that seem wonky, definitely bring those up to the Freedom team. And as needed, we'll talk about those items with NFIN and figure it out as we go.
Okay. So a couple of quick hitters that we're seeing in the Q&A right now. The credit score requirement is 650. The reamortization is a single reamortization at 18 months. And again, the question about the co-borrower, which we just addressed as well. We have a question here from Edward. Will NFIN be able to show all the incentives in Illinois, like the taxes, the battery, the SRECs? In that situation, you would still just go to the incentive page and add those incentives like usual. Rob, there's nothing different that changes in that prospect as well?
No, nothing different. I think the one thing to note is that for the Maryland rebate, I don't think that's showing up in Project Generator for NFIN loans right now. But that is something the team is aware of and working on fixing. We're hoping to get that done this week. So maybe a little dicey on Maryland jobs for the time being. That's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head where it comes off the loan amount like that. Everything else should be, you can quote it in Aurora as normal.
Okay. Next question is from Stephanie. What documentation would be needed for income verification? Is there anything specific that we can go over with what qualifies for income verification?
I actually don't know the answer to that, Brian. Not sure if you do. I haven't looked much into the STIPs and the income side. Mark or Brian, if you guys have, feel free to take it. But otherwise, we'll need to get back to it.
Before the end of this call, we'll get that information to you.
Yeah, no, I can chime in on that. So acceptable forms of documentation they allow for income proof are payment stubs from the last 30 days, most recent W-2 and 1099 tax documents, most recent tax return, or a most recent Social Security pension statement.
Thank you, Brian. Just to answer everyone's questions about the welcome call, yes, there is still a welcome call for Enfin, similar. We do have resources in the Sales Resource Center, and we do want to direct everyone to the Sales Resource Center to be able to see inside the Finance and Payment Options folder. We do already have a large amount of resources built there for the Enfin loan. On top of that, we have already updated the Finance Payments at a Glance documentation that's in there as well. We will also have a recording of this webinar that we will add to our webinar video library, and we will send out a recap with extra resources available as well. So keep those questions coming. We are getting a lot of duplicates in the chat right now, but our next question is from Jordan. Nope, we already answered that one. And this one is one we addressed briefly in the webinar, but at what point will the first payment be made after install? Brian, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, happy to take this one. So, this is different than what we had with Mosaic. With Enfin, the first payment to the customer will be due 30 days after permission to operate. So with Mosaic, there was potential that customers may have their first payment done before the system was energized. That will not be the case with Enfin loans. The first payment is due 30 days after PTO.
Rob, we've gotten some questions in the chat about potential other loan options coming. Can we speak on that? And what's the time frame for? Is there going to be an option for Minnesota? I'm not sure if you can answer that, but
yeah, we're still talking to several other loan providers. We expect to have more options coming in the next or a couple of weeks. There's one in particular that is pretty much at the finish line that we expect to have live, I imagine, by end of the day tomorrow. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. It's a company called Credit Human. It's a credit union based out of, I think, San Antonio. So that one's going to be a little bit different than Enfin. We'll run another webinar when that one comes out. Probably get that scheduled for either tomorrow or Wednesday. But it'll be another option. That one, as far as I'm aware, is open in Minnesota. We'll double check on that. But that one, likewise, is going to be in every other state and pretty attractive terms. So yeah, we'll talk more about that when that comes out. And then we have a bunch of others in the hopper as well that as we get more information and get closer, we'll certainly talk more about those.
Okay, we do have a couple questions in the Q&A about what happens if when switching finance partner, they do not pass the credit requirements for Enfin. Do we have any guidance on what we should do there?
Not yet. We need to talk more about that. We will likely be putting, I would say, keep track of those. Make sure those don't slip through the cracks. We're coming up with a plan on those. I mean, again, as we release more financing options, we expect that issue to become, less and less common. But more direction coming on that. I don't have a ton to say on those. Just keep track of them and sit tight. We'll get you more direction as we get it.
Okay, a couple of questions about state errors. I know you had mentioned that there was Florida, Texas, Massachusetts that were resolving an issue. We do have a couple of folks in the chat saying they're also seeing that in Oregon and Washington. So I figured that would put that on your radar if you haven't seen that already. We will take a look at that as well and get all these issues ironed out. So we appreciate that. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Okay, a lot of duplicates. We'll take a few minutes just to clean up the Q&A here. Anything you guys want to add while we're waiting for some new questions?
Don't have much. No, I mean, obviously we're excited about this. We appreciate everybody's patience as we kind of get this live. If you're following what's going on, you know that it's a very interesting environment right now. So we're navigating it as well as we can, as quickly as we can. But yeah, appreciate you guys' understanding and patience as we kind of work through some of these interesting times and scenarios here that aren't all that common.
Yep, and I'll chime in and add one thing that I'm not sure made it into the deck or not. Enfin loan does not allow add-on systems. If you're doing the TPO, they do allow add-ons with their TPO product, but as far as the Enfin loan, they do not allow add-on systems. And then one other thing, just to circle back to the welcome call, they do require a welcome call. That number will be the same number that y'all have been using for the TPO welcome call as well. So same number.
And again, that portal for Enfin is partner.enfin.com. We have a question about the 15-cent reduction. Rob, could you re-clarify how that's going to work for folks? Maybe they didn't catch it the first time about how that's going to work.
Yeah, so any job that was sold with Mosaic that is getting swapped to another partner, which I think typically is going to be Enfin Loan, the baseline will be adjusted to whatever it was with Mosaic at the time of the original sale, minus 15 cents. So if the baseline were $1, well, whatever. If it were just throw out some numbers. If it were $2 at the time of sale, it would be $1.85. Now that's going to happen automatically in most instances. We have, not to get too in the weeds, but we have a database that we input all the baselines into, and the commission tool or however you get paid commissions, that's generally all automated using those databases and the commission tool. It will be automated for Enfin Loan. We're going to go back and basically backdate the Enfin baselines to be Mosaic minus 15 cents. It's not going to be automatic, though, for any other financing. If you were, I think it probably will be rare, but if you were to swap a Mosaic job to whatever, Enfin TPO or GoodLeap or anybody else, it's not going to be automatic. So that one's going to be a little bit trickier, I would say. We'll have to manually override those. So just keep an eye out for the baseline on those whenever you do swap to a non-Enfin Loan job, and just let us know if for some reason it didn't get updated, but we'll make sure we have reporting on that so we get it right. But it'll all be automatic for Enfin Loans.
We're getting a lot of questions about re-roofing, electrical. Those things are available. Again, we will have a resource page where we'll be able to jump right to in the Sales Resource Center, and then we'll talk about what are the upgrades and things that you can do. What are the caps for each in terms of like solar only, PPW for roofing. All that information is going to be in the Sales Resource Center inside the resources we provide. So make sure you head over to that Sales Resource Center or click the link when we send out the recap later this afternoon. That seems to be the vast majority. Also, we're getting a question about, what's allowed, what kind of property types are allowed. Can they do LLCs? Again, I don't believe LLCs are allowed, but I'll double check prior to ending this question and answer session. But we will have all those in our Sales Resource Center when we send out the recap later this afternoon.
Yes, that's correct, Mark. No LLCs allowed.
All right. So Marlon, we got your question answered. I know you said that in there a few times. And again, we have an amazing document in the Sales Resource Center that we update periodically as things change called Finance Options at a Glance. Everyone should save that document to their device. It will tell you every single one of the partners we operate with, the requirements, the credit score requirements, which credit bureau they use, the welcome call information. It is a one-stop shop that will answer a lot of the questions that we are receiving. So we encourage everyone to go find those documents as well and save those to your devices as they continue to change. But at this point, we are at really no new questions. We've answered the questions about Mosaic, the different adders, and we're happy to take some of those questions again offline if you want to email us at producteducation@freedomforever.com, and we'll make sure we get all those things sorted out. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
I'm just looking through the questions, see if there's any other ones here that are new, but no, I think I'm good. Brian, you got anything?